Hello, welcome to the Feature Spotlight webinar for April 2024. I'm Dale Franks. Last month, we talked about one of the new features in Process Director, a new form control called the data list. Today, we're actually going to look at the Process Director UI itself, and we are going to discuss the content list. And to do so, I am going to share my screen so that we can take a look at the content list for version. It says the version 6 content list. It's actually not really available until version 6.1, but we're gonna go ahead and go with it. So 6.1.x, I think we're currently at 6.1.003 right now. It has a new content list. And it works fundamentally different from the old content. Well, I say fundamentally different. I mean, it still shows a list of folders, but other than that, it does a ton more stuff. It is dismissible, unlike the old content list, or at least the folder pane of the old content list. It is searchable and filterable, and it is also favoritable. I'm not sure that's a word, but you can make things favorites in the new content list. It really serves to make all of your content much more accessible. The content itself, as I said initially, was filterable, or rather dismissible. It's dismissible by default, but there are pin and unpin icons that will allow you to make it persistent on your screen. So if we go and take a look at Process Director here, we can show the content list because it does have a menu item, which you can click on to actually show the content list. And you know what? Before we even talk about this content list menu, not all of your users will have it, because to show the content list and to get access to this portion of the content list is governed now by the user settings in the user account page for each user. So if we go into user administration, and I will click here and dismiss the content list, and let me pick where's Diana or Barb? There's Diana. So let's pick Diana. Let's open that up. And there is a new property in the user profile page for each user account for show content list. So this property can be turned on and off for each individual user. If it is turned on, you will see the content list menu in the upper left-hand portion of your screen. Obviously, if it is turned off, you will see no such menu. So it was turned off for Diana, I believe. So let me impersonate Diana. Actually, Diana is an admin, so she will actually be able to see it, I believe, because she's a system admin. So I would have to actually change that again. So let me unimpersonate Diana. Let me turn that off. I'm going to try to make this thing disappear. I forgot that Diana was a system admin. Let's go back to settings and user administration. Let's go back to Diana again. And actually, I don't want to do this to Diana because I'm using her for other things. Let's go to Barb. Now, Barb is not a system admin, but she does have show content list. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off for Barb. And she's a member of the admin group. And I'm going to remove her from that admin group too. I'm going to make her as unadministratable as possible. There we go. And now I'm going to go back in. Oh, by the way, new feature, impersonate user, available straight from the main product UI. So let's try Barb again. And let's impersonate Barb. There we go. Now the content list has disappeared because Barb does not have the ability to see the content list. I turned that off for her, although, and again, she's not an administrative user. Let's go back to Barb. Go to user administration, and Barb is right there. And we will now give her show content list, and we'll save her account, and we will re-impersonate her very quickly. And now she has the content list icon, or the content list menu. And if she clicks it, she can have access to the content list. So the content list is now showable or hideable on an individual basis, where that was not true in previous versions of Process Director. You really only got to see the content list if you were part of a workspace that displayed the content lists to you. And that was governed by your workspace membership. That's no longer true. Now you can individually turn on and off the content list for each user. We were talking about it being dismissible, of course, and so when I click on it, by default, the content list is dismissible, which means it will show now, and I can do anything that I need to do in terms of going in and finding items and what have you. And if I click on, say, Litmos content, it will automatically navigate to that Litmos content folder. But notice it has gone away. Once I clicked on the folder I wanted to go to, it's gone away. And if I want to bring it back, I have to hit the content list menu. Now, this is the default operation. I bring it up, and either I choose some item, and when I choose that item, it automatically navigates me and the content list goes away. Or if I don't navigate, if I just want to get rid of the content list, I can click anywhere outside of the content list in this dark gray area of the screen. And when I click on it, the content list just goes away by default. I don't know whether I like this or not, this operation, because sometimes I do like having all of my screen space back. In the old content list, of course, there was always some portion of the screen that was taken up by showing you the folders part of the content list, showed you the folder structure. You could get rid of it. There was a tiny little icon on the divider bar that when clicked would make it go away. And then you could go over to the very far left of the screen and you can click again and bring it back. That was a little unwieldy. It's certainly easier to click on the content list menu than it is to find that tiny little icon that was somewhere in the middle here on the bar. And yet, sometimes I want the content list open and sometimes I don't. And I don't know which one I want at any given time. So there is a pin content list or unpin content list button, depending on its state. And notice when I click it, what's going to happen on the right-hand side of the screen is it's going to go from dark gray to just white. And the reason it's going to do that is because my content list is now pinned. And because it's pinned, I can now do any sort of navigation that I want inside the content list. And I'm trying to find something that has a subfolder so that I can, oh, there we go. I can go into the subfolder. And if I navigate on the right, which I just did to go into the procurement request folder, it updated on the left-hand side of the screen to show me that I am now, in fact, in my procurement request folder. So like the old content list, I can navigate, on either side of the screen, and I can have the content list pinned. Now, in the new version, the content list is not sizable. So it's going to take up this amount of space. Now, for me, that's usually fine. I've got a 32-inch monitor. The minimum size of things that I usually look at is 1920 by 1080, which is what we're looking at here. So this is fine for me in most cases. And if I want to, I can just use all 32 inches of my screen, and the amount of space that the content list takes up on the left-hand side of the screen is largely immaterial to me. However, at a different screen resolution, this space becomes kind of a problem. It does take up a lot of horizontal space, but of course, it's dismissible. And so I can simply reclaim that space if I want it. And surprisingly, I often have to go to that 1280 by 720 screen resolution whenever I'm making training courses, because the UI for the system that we use for our online training, it would be hard to read if I use 1920 by 1080. So I have to use a smaller screen size. When I do, the content list occasionally becomes larger than I would like it to be because it is a fixed position and it takes up a fair amount of horizontal space on the screen. I have a question. Enhancement request: make the column adjustable, please. Well, as I have been addressing, yes, it in day-to-day use, it's one of the I'll certainly put in a request to make it adjustable. I don't know, based on how this UI is constructed, if it is possible to make the content list size adjustable. That is, in fact, the reason why you can simply unpin it and then just bring it back when you want it and just dismiss it when you don't, so that you can reclaim that horizontal space on your screen. So I understand it, because it does take up, as I've been talking about, a fair amount of horizontal space, although making it dismissible, I think in many cases obviates that concern. I mean, look, if I'm working inside an application and I'm going to be building all of my objects here, at least in my workflow, when I'm at this stage of just building the objects inside the application folder, which you should all be doing, by the way, you should not be separating timelines from forms and knowledge views into all separate folders. That just makes your life way, way harder than it needs to be. So I find that if I use Process Director in the way that we recommend at BP Logix, where I'm just inside an application folder and I'm building things, I tend to not need the content list as much, and I'm happy to dismiss it at that point so that I have all of the horizontal space that I need to, for example, edit my forms or edit my timeline definition or whatever, because I'm largely going to stay in the same location. So that's why the dismissibility of the content list is kind of a big deal. I can just move it out of the way and not have to look at it if I don't want to look at it. I'm spending far more time on dismissibility than I was planning to. Some other visual features of the system: I have an icon to expand or contract all folders. So up here at the very top, there is this expand all, and it switches to a contract all icon with a slightly different visual appearance when I click it. If I click the expand all icon, you can see that it's changed from a plus to a minus. It's now a collapse all icon. It does expand everything in the content list. I suppose that might be useful. It's not something that I use, but it is there. Another feature that we have are the system folders. We can hide and unhide those system folders via another icon called toggle system folders. And we have to be a little careful about this. Any folder with a name in square brackets is considered a system folder. Honestly, there's no concept of system folders in Process Director. We're just making this up as we go along. We came up with this naming convention of putting names in square brackets to mark them off from all of the other folders. And also it all sorts them all together at the very top of the content list because of the way the alphabetization system works, and square brackets go before A because it's a special character. And folders like the custom tasks or data sources or drop-down objects, it's really convenient to be able to group them all together at the root level of my content list because they're all global objects. And so we've started to term those system folders. That was the name that we came up with. And when we say system folders, what we basically mean is a folder whose name is enclosed in square brackets. Now, I can turn these on and off with the toggle system folders icon, but you do have to be careful because turning off the system folders, all we're doing is looking for those square brackets, and we're going to hide any folder that has square brackets in it. And we're going to hide it anywhere that it appears in the content list. So we have had situations where people got a little confused. For example, if I want to show all of my system folders, I can just click the toggle system folders. When I do, it has a white background now as opposed to the the squares having an unfilled background that just shows me sort of the dark blue of the bar here. And if I click on it, it fills it, and then I can see all of my system folders. Now, let's go in here to sample application, and let's create a new folder. And we're just going to call it test. And it's going to be in square brackets. Okay, we might not have meant this to be a system folder, but it is a system folder. So if I show and hide my, if I toggle my system folders to hide all of these system folders, it's going to hide that test folder in the content list here as well. And so if I'm looking here for the test folder, I'm not going to find it. I mean, it exists. We see it over here on the right. That folder is there, but because I put this in square brackets and buried it somewhere down in the content list, it's going to disappear until I toggle system folders again. And when I do, you can see that the test folder is back. So we have had at least one customer who started naming things with square brackets in subfolders and then put in a tech support ticket saying, hey, I can't find my test folder. It doesn't show up. Yeah, that's because you gave it square brackets in the name. And when you did, it became effectively a system folder. And so thus, with system folders toggled, it disappeared off of your content list. So that's the explanation. And so exercise a little caution if you're going to have these square brackety folders buried somewhere in your content list. You are going to need to toggle the system folders back on in order to see them in the content list and be able to find them in searches and whatnot in the content list. One of the other cool things about the new content list is that instances are now always visible in the content list. So in previous versions of Process Director, if you wanted to see the instances of an object, you would have to go into that object. Here is a form, for example. I would need to open the form definition. And then once the form definition opened, it would show me a node on the content list that said form instances. Or if I were to go into a process timeline, I would get my active instances and my completed instances of the process timeline. Although, as many of you know, that didn't always work perfectly. It didn't always show up automatically. And sometimes you'd have to navigate through the form definition tabs to prompt a refresh of the content list on the left-hand side of the screen to actually show you your active and completed timeline instances. Well, don't worry too much about that now, because anytime I have an object that does have instances, whether it is a form or a process timeline, I have direct access to the instances right from the content list. I don't have to have, as you can see here now, I don't have to have these items open to gain access to active timelines or form instances. There are no active timelines. I'm not sure there's any completed timelines here or form instances, so it doesn't show anything. I'm sure that I have some form instances somewhere. Yes, I'm sure I do. So here's this form. It's got form instances. Yes, I've submitted 3 of them. So I can go straight to that. Or in my timeline, I've got a couple of active timelines that are running, and I should have one completed timeline. I do. It is running. All that's available right here from the content list. So that does make my life a lot easier with the new content list, because these are always available to me, whether I have the object open or not. I can always just navigate directly to them without having to open up the parent object the way that we had to do in prior versions. Searching and filtering. There are 2 major features on searching and filtering on the content list. There is a search bar. It has some empty text written in there that says enter filter phrase. You just replace that with whatever text you want. It finds the object. It matches any text you enter automatically, and I'll find it everywhere in the content list. There is, in addition to that, a filter menu dropdown, which will enable you to specify a particular type of object or objects in the content list. Both the search bar and the filter bar work independently. However, You can also have both a search term and a filter selection, and they will work together. They don't have to work together. They do by default, but you don't have to make them work together. For example, if I don't enter a search phrase, then I can filter what I want. Let me show you what I mean. And by showing you what I mean, let me start by entering a filter phrase. So let's go with, well, since I've got a sample, let's just use PROCUR, the first part of the word procure. And I have more procurement objects than I thought I had on this system. But as you can see, I have quite a lot of objects that match the name procure. And if I wanted to look at 1.3, I know I've got folders named 1.3 because I have a whole bunch of folders from tech support tickets, right? So I can just find any of my 1.3XX tickets. I may even have some 1.4 tickets. Nope, looks like I just have 1.3 tickets. Do I have any 1.2 tickets? Yes. Yes, so I have some support tickets for items. These are support ticket numbers, actually. So I can just find them pretty easily, although obviously I'd have to know the exact ticket number to find an exact ticket number. But if I did 12988, I can find the little application, the little sample application I did simply by doing that search. So let's go back to what I originally did, which was the procurement. Let's actually do a little bit of additional filtering on it, because now that I've got my search term in here, which is actually showing me everything, I can filter as well. So I can go in and say, okay, I only want to see forms and process timelines. I'll pick two things. So form and timelines that use the word procure in some form in them. So I've got a couple of forms here for procurement. I've got another form there. There's timeline, form, timeline, form. Let's not see forms and timelines. Let's see if I have any business values that I use. Yes, I have 5 business values in my content list that use the word procure in their name. Now, what happens if I don't have a search term? If I got rid of the search term, then I have no search term. However, I still have the filter for business values. So now what I'm seeing is an unfiltered list of all, or I'm sorry, a filtered list of all of the business values that exist on the system, which, as you can see, are quite a large number. And I can do the same thing with, forms or cases. I'm sure I have fewer cases. Yes, I do have way fewer case instances. Documents, I can find documents on the system. So all of my Excel documents. In fact, I think if I XLS, I put XLS in there and then I search for documents, I can find all of the Excel spreadsheets that I have uploaded somewhere into my content list. So I can find them a lot easier. Trust me, once you start using this, especially if you're like me, where I do a lot of webinars and I have a lot of Excel spreadsheets with different data that I'm using to bring into the system, and I always lose them and I don't remember where they were, what project I put them in. It is a lifesaver to be able to go through and find those Excel spreadsheets, even though half of them are named either data or book one, which naming conventions are important. Knowing what it is you're looking for is a super important feature of the content list and finding items. So if you name them all data or book one, the search feature is not going to be particularly helpful for you. It keeps doing that when I want it to do that. The new content list does not exist in a vacuum. It does work with the new Process Director homepage, although arguably the first item has nothing to do with the content list itself, which is that whatever I edit in Process Director automatically gets added to the recently modified section of the homepage. So that enables me to pick up where I left off. To the extent that this does relate to the content list, it eliminates the necessity for using it, because if I just go to the home page, and by the way, let me unfilter this before I mess things up. I think I have. There we go. It's unfiltered now. Great. And we'll go ahead and collapse everything back to where we want it. So when I open up Process Director, probably the content list is not going to be there. I'm just going to get this home page. If you're using the home page, use of the home page is optional. It's up to you. But if you do use it, I can go back and find the last form that I worked on, the last form that I edited, or I say the last form, the last objects, because here's the last form, the last drop-down object, process timeline. Here are a couple of folders that I worked on, and here's an email template that I worked on. I did all of this on Thursday as part of the training webinar that we do every Thursday. These are all the objects that I worked on Thursday, all of them modified 5 days ago. Nice thing is I don't have to go to the content list to find the items that I have been most recently working on because they're here. So the last thing I worked on was the form. If I want to go back to that form and work on it some more, all I have to do is click on it. It's going to open up the definition for me, and I'm off to the races working on the advanced design concepts form, because I was able to click on it directly from the content list, or I'm sorry, directly from the home page without having to navigate through the content list. On the other hand, there is a favorites function. So you can mark an object as a favorite in the content list. Every object has a favorites icon that you can click to turn on and off. And whenever you have marked an item as a favorite, it will appear on the favorites section of the home page. So I've got a couple of different favorites that I have marked, and they are all marked in the content list. So when I reopen the content list, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it so that we can see the whole screen without that gray layer on top of the home page. So if I want to make something a favorite, I can just place my mouse over it. When I do, notice that on the far left-hand side of every highlighted item, as I highlight them, and by the way, also notice there's a nice little blue tooltip pop-up that appears whenever I hover over an item that shows me whenever I last edited it, what time I last edited it. A nice little bit of extra information that's available to you, irrelevant to what we're talking about, but just wanted you to notice that that is a thing that exists. But if I wanted to make my ADC email template a favorite, when I place my mouse over it at the far right-hand side, there is a little star icon, and this star icon is not filled in. It's just a star outline. But if I click on it, it does get filled in, and it now remains permanently marked in the content list. And so I'm not sure where any of these other objects are that I have marked as favorites, but that's fine. It has now added it into the content list. I can also do the same thing with the form and I guess the process timeline. Every time I add them, they're added into my favorites and they remain permanently marked in the content list. So if I expand all and I were to scroll down here, I'm sure I have a very long content list. Probably longer than many of you have as customers. Okay, here's the international procurement process timeline. You can see it is marked as a favorite. It exists right over here as my international procurement process. And if I want to unmark that as a favorite, all I have to do is the same thing in reverse. I just click on the icon, it becomes unfavorited. And as you probably saw, even though it happened very quickly, over on the favorites section of the content list, that item disappeared. So once I mark an item as a favorite, it remains permanently marked in my content list, but my content list is so long that scrolling through here to find favorites is difficult because they're all over the place. So, but we saw one, we found one, we know that it was marked, so we're good to go. And of course we could go back to training and webinar and no, I'm sorry, training. We want to go to training and ADC, I believe. And these three items are now all marked as favorites. As you can see, they're permanently marked. And again, if I wanted to remove them, all I have to do is just unmark them. The stars disappear. And if I go back to the home page, those three items are now again gone from my favorites. Oops, didn't switch screens for me. So the folder list portion of the content. I put folder list. I should have meant folder contents portion, not the folder list portion. So that's the right side of the page. It should appear with a new, more modern visual appearance. The old icons from the older versions of the UI have now been replaced with a menu, and there are some new button styles, all of which is governed in your global K-view settings. So if we go back and look at, we'll just look inside a folder, and if I click on an item here, I've got these nice rounded blue buttons at the top. Over on the far right-hand side, there are no more icons. And this is true, by the way, for knowledge views as well. I instead have menus, a pop-up menu by clicking the little, it's supposed to be the hamburger menu, but it's not really 3 dashes, it's 3 dots, but I guess we'll continue calling it the hamburger menu, which gives me access to what used to show up in those, with those icons to denote them. Now they just simply show up as menus. This is all controlled, as I said earlier, inside your system configuration. If we go into IT admin and we go into global knowledge views. Oh, and by the way, can we talk about something? Now that I am in IT admin, my content list is still visible. It doesn't disappear like it did in all prior versions when I go to IT admin. It's still here. If I want to navigate directly from IT admin back to where I was or back to a specific folder, I can now, because the content list is permanently pinned here, and it's not going to go away and force me to start from scratch all over when I get done with IT admin. I can do what I need to do here and leave. What I did need to do here was to go and look at the content list, global knowledge view. And if we go into the details there is this use process director 6.0 style. So this is optional. You can turn this off. And the content list contents, which I can navigate to instantly because my content list is still visible. Because I have the version 6 style turned on, I see the new UI. So something to think of. If you still see the old UI in your content list, it's probably because, well, you've got the wrong settings set on your global knowledge views. All right, it's 10:32, so I guess it's time to wrap up. The new content list is way more feature rich than the old content list was, has a lot more visual customization than was available. The searching and filtering makes it so much easier to find items, and also having instances available at all times, especially if you're an admin on a production system, does make your life a lot easier because you can go directly to the instances without having to open up the objects. And of course, just pinning favorites to the homepage makes the whole thing just far more convenient for your use. Well, it's 9:32. I am 2 minutes over time, so I apologize, but thank you for your attention today. I appreciate the fact that you attend. For those of you who attend the training webinar, we will be continuing our Advanced Design Concepts webinar on Thursday. I'll look forward to seeing you then. For the rest of you, I'll look forward to seeing you next month. Until next time, so long.